What's going on, guys? Jim here from Clockwork Industries. Welcome back to another Clockwork gaming video for Diablo Immortal. So, the Blood Knight is here. I've been streaming it the last couple days over on Twitch. I have a link down in the description for that. Probably be streaming some more Blood Knight content this weekend, Saturday, I think, and I'm going to be jumping back over to D4 on Sunday and pushing some Nightmares before the new season. But the Blood Knight is a class that I'm going to stick around on for quite a bit longer. I knew the new class was coming. I knew I was going to switch over to it when it did become available, and I think I'm going to deep dive a lot more into this, sort of like I did with the Monk, where I stayed the same class for six plus months through multiple sets of essences, figuring out new builds along the way, and seeing what I can come up with. The Crusader was kind of like a pit stop. I wanted to go back to Satyr for a while. Sorry I didn't get too many build videos out. D4 launched in the middle of that, and that was another part of the reason I figured I'd switch classes and just load up on essences for another class, just so I have it all done and available in case I do want to go back. But I am going to be sticking with the Blood Knight for quite a while, and trying to figure it out. It's a lot of fun so far, and this video is basically going to be going over what I've been able to put together with the essences I've managed to find in the last 2 days, and kind of going through and seeing what synergizes with my sets that I have available, the gems that I'm going to be using, and all that sort of stuff, plus the essences that I have been able to find. So right now I'm just doing a pretty straightforward build, but it smashes and just annihilates everything in the open world. I came from Satyr, so I was already running Gray set. A lot of good stuff here because of the continual channel damage. So I'm running 4 set Grace with 2 set... what is the actual name of this set here? Artisan's Care. What do we call it here? Oh, Seeds of the Sown Gold. So this is the new channeling set. Now this, I think, could be potentially useful in PvP. I don't know if I can stay alive long enough, but essentially it will let me get in there and avoid pillars and knockbacks and all that kind of stuff for 8 seconds and channel all the way through. This could also be useful for beam wizards and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm actually going to be running this in PvP. I've been looking at quite a few other options that involve dash skills, because one of the ones I'm using right now is a skewer dash skill, and this does so much damage. That's why I'm using it actually in PvE for open world farming and stuff. Even though all my stuff is set up for channel continuous damage, and I'm going to have a raid build coming up soon for like dungeons and raids, which is basically all stacked up continual damage, ground damage, and channel damage. So all 4 skills will just be pumping out continual damage. Lots of grace procs, lots of ramped up channeling damage from the new set. And I'll have a video up on that probably sometime next week, because I'm missing 1 or 2 essences that I really want to put into that one. But right now, my main focus, I think it'd be easier to just go through my main thing here. My main focus is some channeling damage, and I'm actually using just what I have available to make the best build possible. So I'm using here, we'll start with the Helm. Spear Flurry does 20% damage to enemy suffering loss of control. Because I'm doing this leap stun with the Besalver, this does the leap dash with your skewer ability, and it knocks enemies in the air and stuns them. That's going to proc my Chip of Stone Flesh gem, stun them, and add more damage when I do use the Spear Flare ability. I also am using the primary attack that is the Shadow's Edge, and seems like a pretty decent mid-range attack, and these are the 2 essences that I found that work together well with that. This Mercy's Plight is going to stack dots on there, or marks. Once you hit 4 marks, it explodes for damage. It's sort of like how Grace, as you get 5 hits, explodes for damage. This is kind of good for when you're out in the open world farming or doing the tower runs and you come across the boss or a purple mob or a high healthy yellow. This one will help you get it down if you got to hit it multiple times. And once you're kind of out of your channeling ability. This is another one that helps for, it splits off and ricochets basically when you hit one of your targets with your primary attack. I'm also using the bats. So I have bat damage, or right now I have on Shroud of Night. I'm going to be testing this out, but I normally have the bats buff damage here on the chest, and then the legs for healing with Swarm of Bats, just because they synergize together. They already do a ton of channel, or a ton of continual damage. I have a couple pieces here for Siphon Blood, but I'm not actually using that now, but sometimes I'll throw it on depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes in a dungeon lately I've been putting that on and using that. But I'll go around here and I will show you kind of what I'm working with. We'll go knock out a bounty and just see how fast this stuff dies. I'm really liking this class so far. It has a lot of damage. And just like the skills are actually like fun to play. Like they're very unique attacks. And some of these actually really make me enjoy channeling skills. I've actually hated channeling skills all the way up until this point. I almost never used them. They never really seemed useful. But with the Blood Knight, a lot of them are really nice. So, I mean, we're just like, sometimes if I get lucky here with this main attack with the skewer, I use it as my opener usually. If I get a nice crit, it'll one-shot the whole pack. But Blood Knight does a ton of damage. I mean, a couple primaries and things are down. I'm using this skill right here, the Sanguine, just mostly for mobility because I don't even need it. Everything's dying super quick. Sometimes I don't even hit the channeling ability. It's just like fun to have. Honestly, it does a ton of damage. There's some potential with this maybe in Battlegrounds because there's one of them that has a knockup. I don't know. I really got to figure out how this green or the set pieces bonus is going to work in there. See how much damage I'm going to take. See how much I'm going to get hit with fears and stuns as opposed to knockbacks. What I do like about this Spear Flurry attack is it'll actually dash you up into melee range if you aren't close enough. Like that. I guess we got somebody else over here farming as well. So what I'm also thinking is going into PvP, there seems to be some good potential with Gloom. So right now, half my skills are dashes, half my skills are ground or channeled, just for this open world build. What I was doing earlier in raids is I would actually use the Siphon Blood instead of this leap attack. And it was working very well because I would basically rotate channeling. So I would run Spear Flurry until this channel was out, then I would Siphon Blood instead of this. And you could go back and forth, always keep your bats up. So you always had an ability being channeled, lots of grace procs, and it was working pretty good. But for open world farming, you're just kind of, for the most part, especially at the power level where we're at, if you've been grinding for a while, even if you're mostly free to play and you got 1,000, 2,000 residents, you're going to be annihilating most of the things in open world. So you can kind of be a little bit more loose with your builds. You're more so going to prioritize speed skills, even if they don't do a lot of damage. Or, you know, you could even take the bats and do the bat mist, where you basically turn into floating bats and use that. I was using that earlier as well for open world, just as strictly mobility, just so I can have this one move me around as well as the bats. And then, I mean, that would actually work probably pretty well in this build. And then if you want to, you just use the channeling ability. I like this one because you can just spin around in circles. It does a lot of single target channeling damage as well as AoE channeling damage. The Siphon Life attack does do better, from what I can tell, as AoE channeling damage. But the damage output on the Blood Knight is just ridiculous. And I mean, I'm not too much more juiced for like Inferno 1. Like, yeah, I got maybe like 1,000 more combat rating or whatever than what's recommended, I would say. But for open world farming, you can get pretty loose with your builds and just do attacks that you find fun. Find things that synergize with your essences and your set bonuses, and you'll be doing all right. Like I said, later next week, probably I'll start putting together a build for like farming dungeons, something that's maybe more of like a support build. There's a actually the essence that I put on for Night Shroud empowers you and nearby allies, mark primary attacks, mark the enemy for death. There's also another one, I think it's Night Shroud. It's either that or the Mist, and it gives you 15% attack speed and movement speed. So that's something that you could potentially work together with a Satyr and a Monk, and you can get, you know, the crit damage, the crit from the Satyr, you can get the damage buff from the Monk, and then you can get attack speed buff from the Blood Knight, because it does buff your whole party. I believe that's not Night Shroud. I believe it's the hold it up for 1 second. It's this Mephitic Cloud, and it buffs this cloud to increase your primary attack, or I think it's just overall attack speed and movement speed. But I do plan on... Oh, man, come on. Really, these guys ran and stopped right here. Like I said, I do plan on staying Blood Knight for quite a while. So, new legendaries will come out. New things will become available. And I'll have updated videos on all of that stuff. I don't want to run up here. Alright. But it does seem like there's kind of two directions. And what I'm really think I'm planning for PvP is going to be a Gloom build, and potentially if I can actually get this in here, I think this has potential in the PvP, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I do want to try running Gloom because this counts as a dash. That counts as a dash. So you have some good Gloom procs there, which at least if you're running Gloom 4 set, it's going to proc your the crit and your damage. So what I'm thinking is even if you ran this, if you can get in there with a good stun like that and even get off a little bit of that channeled ability, it's going to have some solid damage output. But I won't know until I'm actually able to test it. I went into Battlegrounds. When you don't have the essence mastery and you don't have any essences to really put anything like coherent together, it's kind of a disaster. So I've only done like a couple Battlegrounds since going to Blood Knight. I think I got 1 kill. And I was like, all right, I'm done. Let's get back to farming up some essences. So I'm going to spend this weekend and next week just farming up legendaries. And hopefully by the end of next week, I'll be able to have like some kind of PvP build that should work pretty well. From right now, what I can tell is the skewer ability is going to be really strong. It's going to give you some stuns. You're going to have some mobility with the Sanguine. And I don't know. I just don't know about the channel skills yet. We'll have to see how that goes. Since I don't have the Gloom set yet, I think I'm going to be going in there with just using these for the purpose of the lost frames and the stun. And it has a short cooldown too. It's like before you know it, it's back up again. So you can use this in repetition. It does a decent amount of damage as well. So if you could jump in with the bats and get a stun off, and then maybe get a little bit of channeling ability. Bats might be able to heal you for a little bit, depending on the essences you got. I actually prefer these bats the most. For doing actual damage, I think normal bats are the way to go. But yeah, I'm really liking the Blood Knight so far. And that's basically where I got right now and kind of what I'm thinking. There's some good abilities for dash going this direction with Gloom. I think I'm going to be trying that out for PvP. Really seems like you can get some sort of some sort of similar playstyle to the Monk with like the dashing and the glooms and everything like that. But I really am curious though if there's a potential to get things to work out like a channeled ability, because there could be some strong damage available there, especially it's like Siphon Blood. Like if you could actually get this attack here, this Spear Flurry or Siphon Blood to work without getting interrupted, or if you can get a Satyr Bubble and get in there with this. Like the crits on that hit pretty good for like 50k out here in the open world. So obviously that's going to be the damage is going to be lower in PvP, but it's still a lot of damage really quickly. As well as like bat damage that's around you, the incoming damage from the stun ability itself. Yeah, there's quite a bit of options. You can also turn this Spear Flurry into 3 dashes, sort of like the Crusader has, where it's like 3 charges right off the rip with 1 cooldown. So like as long as you do the 3 dashes within the period of time, it has the same cooldown if you do 1, 2, or 3. So you kind of want to use them in tandem, but or in succession. How about we get a Lego here? There we go. hopefully it's not one that I already have. We'll go check this out and I'll wrap up. But yeah, I'll be playing the Blood Knight tomorrow on tomorrow will be Saturday when this video goes up. I'll be live streaming some Blood Knight stuff, talking about the class, thinking about new builds and all that good stuff. And then if you're also playing Diablo 4, I'll have a link down in the description for the new Diablo 4 channel, doing the same kind of similar stuff, but for the Rogue class. I'm going to be running the Rogue in Season 1 as well. I hit a level 100 not long ago, and I'm working on kind of coming up with builds for that as well, and going to be pushing some Nightmare dungeons this weekend. I'll probably be doing that on Sunday. Of course, it's one I already have. That's how it goes. Let's see. Let's see what happens first. Do I get all the essences, or do I end up with the mastery? we'll see what happens. But that's going to be it for this one. I just wanted to kind of get an intro video to the Blood Knight, explain my plans going forward, what I've kind of been working with so far, the direction I see it going. Grace is really strong right now. The new set is really strong right now. I think Gloom has some potential to be really strong as well, and those are kind of like the 3 sets that I'm juggling. And also, because of the way things work out, Banquet set might still be good. I never really found my flow with that set, but I also, to be fair, it came out at the same time I was playing Satyr, and I didn't really have a lot of time to do testing with it. I was also Monk for a little while. I didn't really like running that with Monk. I preferred Gloom as well. But maybe I could go back to my Monk build with like 2 set V2s and 4 set Gloom. Could also use 2 set with the new build, with the new set, I mean, with the Seeds of Sown Gold, and get the 30% channeling damage as you ramp up with it. You could even do 2 set Grace and just get the raw 15% right off the bat without having to ramp up, and then charging in and stunning with the dash, getting your Gloom proc, getting the good crit damage off of that. Because right now I'm sitting at, like, because of the way the gear sets are now, I have 25% static crit, and then I have another 10% for my buff here. So I'm at like 35% crit. I pop the Gloom, I'm going to have even more crit. If you're hitting crits with all of those, even in PvP, you're going to be doing some serious damage. So I'm really excited to get some more essences and get in the battlegrounds and test that out, as well as start working on the raids as well, raid builds and dungeon builds. So that's going to be it for this one. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.